no bad guys is exactly how it was. And I just really want to start with thanking everyone, because it was such a journey that we were all on. It was a journey for the committee, and we all worked so well together. It really was bringing across the party people who are passionate about achieving change. I particularly want to thank the people that had the bravery to submit whether they shared their stories in writing, and those that had the bravery to come and present in person and tell their stories to us, and knowing that by sharing their stories they were making a difference. And it was hard. The inquiry was triggering for virtually everybody that was involved. Hearing those stories, hearing the emotional journeys that people have gone through, hearing the awful stories of loss, and wondering how people could get through that all. And then for all of us then sharing it, but knowing and brought on and moving on, because we knew that there was going to be some good that came out of it, that by doing that there was purpose in it, and purpose in us all being able to work together to learn from these experiences, learn from the stories that we've all shared, to get some better outcomes, to be reducing the rates of stillbirth in Australia. I really do want to thank Senator McCarthy for her leadership and the way that she conducted this inquiry, which was a genuine collaborative approach of creating a space where everybody's stories and input was welcomed, whether it be from the people submitting or the people that were part of the committee. I want to thank Senator Keneally for her leadership and drive in making sure that this inquiry happened initially. And it is an important moment for the Senate and an important process that we've gone through, and truly is representative of the Senate working at its best. There are some important things that we learnt during the inquiry that, for me personally, I was shocked. I mean, just the stark rate of 6 babies a day dying in Australia of stillbirth, and the fact then related to that your average person in Australia doesn't know that. The level of taboo, the level of silence there is around stillbirth. And then just the very fact of us having this committee inquiry is tackling that, is helping to break that silence. So that is something important that I think that we have all learnt, the extent of families suffering the trauma of stillbirth and the need to be able to talk about it, to give people the space to talk about it, which in itself will reduce the rate of stillbirth. We learnt that there has been no change in the rate of stillbirth in Australia over 20 years, but that other countries are doing significant things to be reducing the rates. And so that gives us hope, because we know that if we have got some mostly fairly straightforward measures that we can take, that will have a real impact on changing the rate and reducing that level of trauma and suffering. And we learnt about the level of inequality, how that if you're an Indigenous woman in an Indigenous family, or if you're a woman from a non-English speaking background, that you have much greater rates of stillbirth than the rest of Australians, and that's just not fair. And then we need to be doing something about that. The recommendations of this inquiry go to some of those things. Just having an awareness strategy, really raising the profile so that people can talk about their experiences, and that in itself means that when a woman is pregnant, she can feel that she can learn about the prevention and the things that need to happen in order to reducing the risk that she is going to have a stillbirth. And in fact, we learnt that there are some very simple, straightforward things like sleeping and having a process of continuity of care, and simple things like measuring the growth of the baby. And so just having measurements that are accurate, meaning that, and continuing on throughout the pregnancy, so that any reduction in fetal growth can be picked up, and it will make a significant difference. And at the moment, we're just not doing that effectively in Australia. We learned about the importance of more research and the importance of collecting good data. Again, it's just getting things coordinated and organised and nationally organised so that data is there so we can be learning from the data. And then in particular, I think the thing that I most took out from it, which was reflected in the way that the inquiry operated, of listening to people, was listening to women, and sort of women being, their stories and their intuition being valued, and that in itself is going to make a huge difference. And clearly the listening to women, and throughout, you know, the care in pregnancy, having a model of care, having continuity of care, having the people who are caring for the woman during her pregnancy actually listening and being able to then have evidence from the woman, from the family, coming together to really be maximising the outcomes of a healthy outcome. So that continuity of care in itself was a really strong thing that, you know, I focused on during the inquiry, which to me was really important, to make sure that that in itself was going to help women be heard and very much having their wisdom, having their knowledge valued, and meaning that we're more likely to have positive outcomes. So thank you everyone that was involved, all of the committee members. Thank you so much the people who submitted to the inquiry. You have taken part, and we have all been part of a very significant outcome for this parliament in this process.